Hello and welcome back to Stress Questions series, Chris Wilson, Hyper Australia. Now, the question today, stand by the beach because we can. The question today comes from Sam Paton, Big Boy Sam, and his question to me on Instagram was, why do we stress? And I guess he's querying the fact that if it's so bad for us, like everyone thinks, then why have it? But without taking you back to your high school days, we can start with just considering that your stress response comes from the limbic part of the brain, which is your mammalian part of the brain. It's the same system and process that we share with most of the animal kingdom, and that's one of the old parts of our brains. And this really is our fight or flight response, is what most people would know it as, and it puts us into a survival state. You can imagine we need to be able to identify a threat. We see that threat, we measure that threat, and then respond accordingly. Now, we can go into a fight or flight response, which means my body adjusts to the situation, to the threat. I'm either going to stand and fight, or I'm going to run away as fast as I can. Both of those reactions require high energy, so we need to make a lot of energy available. This comes from adrenaline and cortisol. I need to increase my infection fighting, so my short-term acute infection fighting, so immune system, and I need to increase blood flow and vascular dilate, all these physiological changes that occur. So we perceive a threat state goes up, body reacts. Now, of course, that's great, and that's a survival mode, but that's not where we're at these days. Look at the environment you're working in. I mean, what sort of threats do you perceive sitting at your desk from 9 till 5 Monday to Friday? So we've got that part of the brain. However, we, as in the beautiful humans that we are, have also got that prefrontal or the new cortex at the front of the brain. This allows, social empathy, puzzle solving, communication, all these complex systems that we as humans that are unique to us. So when you think about that, we've got this new part of the brain at the front that allows us to link vital bits of information, to perceive future events, past events. We've got all these things that are going on, but we're still reacting within the old part of the brain. And it's a real conflict for us. This threat state that comes in, what do we now these days perceive as a threat? Is it that we don't, we're going to have, maybe it's our boss walking into the room. Maybe it's, it's a bully or someone that we see that we perceive as a threat. Okay. But what we actually know is the majority of the threat states that we go into is not as big as a saber-toothed tiger jumping out of a bush, but more of an attack to your social status. Now, that's a deep one there. So my ego dictates that I want to please certain people. I've got a picture of my own reality of how much money I should be earning, what I should be doing, my social status, what tribe I'm part of, who recognises that. And that's where we perceive a lot of our threats. And you can see it. I mean, look at children when they're up to the age of 7 or 8. They are learning all these programs about where they fit, what they do, what the rules are within this tribe, this culture that they're growing up in. Look at people on the social medias, and why is it that we seek approval or recognition from even people we've never met? It's all that, if you want to call it tribalization, it's the programming within the ego to say, look, what is my social status? Am I going to be accepted? Am I meeting my life goals? Am I on the right path? And it really starts to drive this stress response. Not as big as someone, jumping out and threatening me, but it's a constant trickle of us going into a threat state. And that's really important for us, because the long-term effects of chronically being into this threat state has massive detrimental effects to our health. And we know that. And look at our patterns that we now jeopardize. I spoke about it in the last video with Emily's question. our sleep patterns get sacrificed, our health choices. We no longer can down-regulate, so we no longer have time to relax. And if you think about that relaxation, it's just about bringing ourselves out of that threat state and coming back into, you know, a normal state, if you like, so we can allow our body to just go through its patterns like it should do, that day and night pattern we spoke about. So again, I've lots of different topics I've tapped into there. But Sam, your question is, why do we stress? Well, we stress because we have an internal response that's part of our survival. The issue we've got is we can't turn it off. And nowadays, what we perceive as a threat is completely different from what the system was originally made for. So there's a conflict. The new brain and the old brain conflict. One thinks it's a threat because we are worried about the future, we feel guilt and regret about the past. All these are driven by the ego. But the response from the limbic part of the brain is still the same. We accelerate, we release stress hormones like cortisol, which is where I play, and we get ourselves into a chronic health issue. Anyway, my name is Chris Wilson, iPro Australia. Leave a question below and I'll try and answer it in one of my funky locations. And again, you'll be on YouTube for this one now because Instagram gives you a little snippet of the video. Come to YouTube and you'll find the full videos. Anyway, leave your questions, likes, comments, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye now.